So the first thing people want to know when they meet me is, how tall are you? The answer to that is I'm 6'6", but I'm 6'9" in heels. And one of the problems with growing up tall and growing up poor, I grew up in a trailer park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You grow up tall, you grow up poor, you grow up faster than your family's ability to get you pants. So I always had high water pants or floods. They never made it down to the floor, and my mom knew I was being teased at school. She knew the kids were hurting my feelings. She wanted me to feel better. So she told me they were capri pants, and they were coming back in style. That turned out not to be true. I'm 6'6". My wife of 26 years is just 5'3". Exactly. A lot of people are like, how does that work? Just realize that in our relationship, deodorant is much more important than breath mints. You hear some people getting that 7 seconds later, right? That's a slow burn as it kind of works its way through the room. So my wife and I, we've been married for 26 years. We have 3 daughters, 19, 17, and 14. Those are weird names, but we really like them. And one of the things about living in a house with all women, they're gradually trying to turn me into a woman, right? They don't ever just come right out and say it, but they're always inviting me subtly or not so subtly to do things their way. And I remember when I discovered the things they were up to that I didn't know about. My wife came home from getting her hair done. She likes to test me. She said, "Do you notice anything different about me?" I said, "Yes, I do. You got your hair cut and you got it colored. It looks lovely." And I thought I passed the test. But then she asked the question that all men dread, which is, what else? So I kept guessing. I kept getting it wrong. Finally, she told me she'd gotten her eyebrows done. I was 30 years old at the time. I had no idea what she's talking about. I said, "What do you mean you got your eyebrows done?" She said, "You know, they were getting out of control." I said, "How exactly does an eyebrow misbehave?" She said, "You know." I said, "I don't know. I've had these bad boys for 30 years. They'd never given me any trouble, and they never had given me trouble till I discovered your eyebrows could give you trouble. And from that day on, it was like I had 2 wild animals fighting on my forehead every single day." So I decided if they were going to turn me into a woman, I was going to fight back and turn them into men. And I had a success the other day. I was sitting on the couch with my daughter, who was 12 at the time. Her name's Emma, and she's snuggly, and I'm snuggly, and she's athletic, and I'm athletic. We got a special connection. She was all the way on the other end of the couch on her iPad, and she was on it. I was watching some TV, and she put down her iPad. She came over, sat down on my lap, and I'm like, this is beautiful, little snuggle time with my daughter on a Saturday afternoon watching some sports. This is what life's all about. But after 2 seconds, she's off my lap, and she's not even next to me. She's all the way on the other end of the couch. And I was bummed. I was like, "Hey, what's going on? I thought we were going to have some snuggle time." She looks up from her iPad and she goes, "I farted on you." And that's when I knew I was making a difference, right? That's leadership is what that is. That's leaving a legacy. Well, she left a legacy, but you understand sort of how it works. So I've always been the different one. I've always been weird. And I want to talk to you today about thinking differently. And I want to start with having different beliefs about 2 specific things, right? The speech contest was called Better Your Best, right? What I want to talk to you about today is getting better and helping other people get better. How do you get better, help other people? You wouldn't be in Producers Club if you weren't trying to get better, and you're not going to get better if you're not helping other people get better. And so I want to give you a completely different way to think about that today, starting with this idea of awakening, this idea that everything we've learned about weakness is wrong. Now, why am I talking about weaknesses when I'm talking about getting better? Because the number one most common thing that our parents, teachers, and employers tell us about how to get better and how to help other people get better is find your weaknesses and fix them. And I want to give you a completely different approach today. So when I was in school, I was always in trouble. Do we have any former troublemakers in the room, right? So I was always in trouble at school for 3 things. I couldn't sit still, be quiet, or do what I was told. That means teachers didn't like me very much. They called me obnoxious, rebellious, inappropriate, immature, told me I had no self-discipline, no self-control, and if I couldn't fix those things, I was going to end up homeless and living in a van down by the river. Sooner or later, they'd give up on me, send me to the principal's office. I remember I was in 3rd grade, so I was 8 years old. I got sent to the principal's office. He sat me down in his lap, which seems questionable now, looking back on it. Let's keep it professional. And he told me a story about 3 kinds of bad people, and I'm like, wow, this story doesn't even have good people in it. He said, "Dave, there's bad people, really bad people, people who are too far gone." He told me I was a really bad kid on the verge of being too far gone. I was 8. I needed to learn to sit still, be quiet, and do what I was told. Now let's talk about intentions for a second, because he was trying to help me. He was seeing my weaknesses. He believed if I couldn't fix my weaknesses, I was never going to be successful. He was teaching me what his parents, his teachers, and his employers had taught him. He had the right intentions. I believe that. But I think like a lot of us, he had the wrong framework. I'm not the only one who had trouble at school. Ken Robinson says many highly talented, brilliant, creative people think they're not. Because the thing they were good at school wasn't valued or was actually stigmatized. Many highly talented, brilliant, creative people think they're not because the thing they were good at home wasn't valued, it was actually stigmatized. At my house, my parents called me motor mouth in a constant attempt to remind me that my biggest problem was my inability to be quiet. They had the right intentions, they loved me, they cared about me, but they believed, because their parents, teachers, and employers had told them that if I couldn't fix my weaknesses, I was never going to be able to be successful. Many highly talented, brilliant, creative people think they're not because the thing they were good at work wasn't valued or was actually stigmatized. Almost everyone in this room has had that experience of bringing your best or what you thought was your best to work. Only have the people around you see your worst and not your best. Some of you started your own businesses because you were tired of bringing what you thought was your best to a place that didn't appreciate it. Many highly talented, brilliant, creative people think they're not because the thing they were good at, their strength, wasn't valued, it was ignored or denied, or it was actually stigmatized. We tell people that the best thing about them is the worst thing about them. And I realized that that's exactly what happened to me. Because as an adult, I became a professional speaker. And I get paid to stand up, not to sit down. I get paid to talk, not to be quiet. And I get paid to run my own business, not to do what other people tell me to do. It turned out that every one of my weaknesses was a weakness. I'm not telling you here your employees don't have weaknesses. Your kids don't have weaknesses. Your spouse or your partner don't have weaknesses. I'm not telling you people don't have weaknesses. What I'm telling you is every single one of those weaknesses was also a strength, and no one saw that. My parents didn't see it. My teachers didn't see it. My employers didn't see it, so I didn't see it. And when I realized that my weaknesses were strengths and that my life was better because I was no longer trying to fix them, I was actually building on those strengths, I started to wonder if other people had weaknesses that were strengths as well, and I discovered the stories that I'm going to share with you this afternoon, and I want to show you how this can change your relationships at home with your spouse or your partner or your kids, how this can change your relationships with your employees and change your relationship with the way you even manage your business and your own life and your own career.